The arena floated in the vacuum like a predator's eye, cold, metallic, watchful. Seraph Force Crucible Ring shimmered with hard light barriers, humming faintly as thousands watched from orbiting vessels, planetary broadcast stations, and deep space link hubs. Every corner of the neutral zone knew what today meant. Not a skirmish. Not a test. A statement. And at the center of that statement stood Ivy Rael. Barefoot. Silent. Still. No armor. No expression. Her body, slight by galactic standards, was wrapped in the standard black synth weave of unarmed combatants. She carried nothing. No blade. No shield. No pretense. Across from her, 10 paces away, towered Threxgar Torin. 7 feet tall, layered in bone-plated armor etched with kill sigils, his serrated war axe resting against one shoulder like an afterthought. He paced in slow, deliberate circles, letting the sunlight catch the blood-red runes on his chest plate. The Craven Blades, the mercenary sect he ruled, had gathered in the upper spectator tiers, shouting battle hymns that echoed off the force field dome. But Ivy didn't move. Not a blink. Not a twitch. As if her body wasn't connected to her surroundings. In the control suite overlooking the arena, silence broke. "Is she meditating?" whispered Ambassador Kell of the Venri League, squinting at the screen. "Analyzing," corrected the Earth envoy beside her. His tone betrayed no emotion. Down in the arena, Threx sneered and stepped forward. The hard light field shimmered as he passed its outer ring. His voice boomed, amplified by the arena's graviton speakers. "Human," he growled. "Do you freeze before battle? Or are you simply trying to look peaceful before I carve your head clean off?" No response. Threx chuckled, circling her now. His boots clanked. His blade scraped across the floor, raising sparks. "This one is even smaller than the others," he said to the crowd. "Not even a soldier. A girl." Some spectators laughed. Others didn't. Those who knew what Deathworlder meant sat very still. Ivy's eyes were open. Focused. She wasn't ignoring him. She was waiting. In her mind, she counted his steps. Tracked his rotations. Monitored the pattern of his breath. Measured the torque of his right shoulder. He favored overhand strikes, likely led with the elbow. The war axe was ceremonial, oversized. Blunt at the tip. A show weapon. His real weapon was his weight. She filed it all away without emotion. 15 seconds had passed. In that time, Threx had spoken 12 words of mockery, circled her nearly twice, and adjusted his grip on the weapon twice. In that same time, Ivy had mapped every vulnerable joint in his armor, registered the microdelays in his gait, and calculated the amount of kinetic force needed to end the fight in one move. But she didn't move. From her training, Ivy recalled her instructor's voice. "The first lesson of a Deathworlder is this: don't reveal the monster until they've walked into its mouth." Threx stopped. His grin was wide now, feral. "Are you broken, girl? Did the fear already root in that fragile little spine of yours?" No answer. Not yet. On a screen high above the arena, Ivy's vitals showed an unnaturally low heart rate. No adrenaline spike. No shallow breathing. "She's not frightened," the Earth envoy said aloud, almost proudly. "She's conserving energy." Kell blinked. "For what?" The envoy didn't answer. Down below, Threx raised his axe and let it fall with a thunderous clang, 6 inches from Ivy's foot. The floor trembled from the weight of it. Still she didn't move. Even the announcers were uncertain now. As she frozen under pressure, one muttered, "Is this psychological warfare?" Another guessed. Threx leaned down, his voice sharp. "Your people believe you're something special. Is that why they sent a child to die?" He lifted the axe again, slower this time, waiting for flinch. "Nothing." He snarled. "Coward." Ivy looked up. Just once. Not at his eyes, but at the upper arc of his chest plate. It was enough. Threx hissed through clenched teeth. Fine then. I'll make you scream. He took one step back. Raised his weapon fully. Pivoted to strike. And then Ivy moved. Not a flinch. Not a stagger. She shifted. Her left foot twisted, weight recoiling like a spring, and her right leg snapped upward in a crescent arc. No wind-up. No pause. Her heel connected directly beneath Threx's collarbone, just above the pressure seam of his thorax guard. A sound like stone cracking inside a cathedral echoed. Threx didn't scream. He flew. His 7-foot frame lifted off the ground, rotated mid-air, and slammed into the force field wall with a gut-churning crunch. The wall flickered white-hot from the impact, absorbing the kinetic discharge. Gasps erupted from the stands. Blood sprayed in a mist as Threx crumpled, unconscious before he hit the floor. Ivy exhaled once. Then straightened. In the booth, the ambassador of the Venery League stood speechless. That wasn't a strike, she said. That was an execution. The Earth envoy didn't blink. She held back. Arena medics scrambled to check Threx's vitals. 2 confirmed multiple fractured ribs, collapsed lung, spinal shock. He would live. Probably. Ivy stepped forward once, looked down at him, and spoke for the first time. You should have let me walk away. And then she turned, walking silently back to her gate. The crowd didn't cheer. Not right away. Because it takes a moment to settle. Above them, the scoreboard blinked once. Winner, Earth combatant, Ivy Rael. And in the diplomatic suites across 5 sectors, flags turned red. Because the galaxy had just been reminded. Never provoke a Deathworlder. The med drones hovered silently, lights blinking green as they sealed Threx Gartorin in a hardened stasis pod. His body sagged unnaturally, ribs cracked inward like brittle scaffolding. No cheers echoed now. Just whispers. Rumors in real time. Ivy Rael sat in a holding chamber beneath the arena floor. Alone. The room was small, 4 walls, 1 console, and a single chair bolted to the ground. Surveillance nodes glowed faintly in the corners. Her hands rested on her knees. Not trembling. Not tense. Still. A soft hiss marked the door's opening. Commander Aaron Voss stepped inside. Mid-40s, Terran Defense Corps uniform sharp as ever. He didn't speak right away. Just regarded her the way one might regard a loaded weapon on a dinner table. You made contact, he said finally. Ivy didn't look up. Only after he charged. He paced once, slowly. You fractured 7 of his ribs. Collapsed a lung. Dislocated his spine at the axis joint. All with a single strike. She met his eyes. I pulled it. He didn't doubt her. A screen lit up beside them, paused footage of Threx midair, limbs flailing, helmet cracked in the arc of motion. You could have killed him. Yes. You chose not to. Correct. Voss exhaled and leaned against the wall. Then the message worked. No, Ivy said. It began. Meanwhile, above, chaos simmered behind tinted observation glass. Ambassador Kell of the Venery League was pacing, tail flicking in agitation. Her assistant whispered frantic updates from the neural relay feed. Craven Blades have issued a protest to the Council, she said. They claim sabotage. Steroid interference. Or mechanical implants. None of which are true, the Earth envoy replied without looking up. Kell's ears flattened. It doesn't matter. Their warband just lost faith in their apex predator. They'll either retreat or retaliate. Let them pick. She stared at him. You wanted this reaction. No, he said, standing. We anticipated it. Inside a different chamber, deep in Sarek's diplomatic tier, Threx's second-in-command paced in front of a live hologram feed. Dozens of Craven warriors blinked in, broadcasting from different sectors. The warband's hierarchy fractured in real time, each blood captain shouting for dominance. She embarrassed our warlord. That girl used poison, no one strikes like that. I say we challenge the humans outright, arena or war. Challenge her again, one barked. Send in all of us, make it a hunt. The voice of their seer cut through the din. She never raised her voice, the seer rasped. She didn't even raise her pulse. The others fell silent. Then, what are we dealing with? No one answered. Because none of them knew. Back in the holding cell, Ivy was quiet. She hadn't spoken since Voss left. But she wasn't idle. Her left hand traced faint patterns across the console screen, geometric loops, a silent code. A soft chime. An encrypted feed blinked on. No visuals. Just a line of scrolling text. Observer 71, confirm operational success. She tapped once. Success confirmed. Secondary objectives? The feed responded. Observe Council response. Await provocation escalation. Do not engage further unless authorized. She didn't reply. She didn't need to. She understood the mission now. This wasn't about winning a duel. It never was. It was about shifting the balance. One kick at a time. Later that evening, the arena was empty. The blood had been cleaned. The scorch marks buffed out. But the arena logs had changed. Ivy Rael's name was now tagged in the lead database under a new classification, non-classifiable combatant. A polite way of saying unknown threat level. She returned to her quarters without escort. No one volunteered. Inside, the lights were dim. Earth standard settings. Familiar smells. Recycled air. The only comfort came from the silence. And the memory of her instructor's last lesson. It only takes one monster to remind them the dark isn't empty. She peeled off her wraps, every movement precise. Her body bore no bruises, no cuts, no fatigue. She hadn't broken a sweat. That, she knew, disturbed the diplomats more than anything. Her communicator pinged. A voice, cold, female, synthetic, filled the room. Report, Ivy. She didn't ask for a name. The voice was from Home Command. Target neutralized without fatality. Diplomatic reaction underway. Craven blades destabilizing. What did he say before the strike? He called me small. A girl. A pause. And how did that make you feel? Ivy closed her eyes. It reminded me why I don't speak until it matters. The voice hummed approval. You have permission to observe only. No further escalation. And if they send another? They won't. The line cut. She sat down slowly. No pride. No rage. Just purpose. She remembered the way Threx's body crumpled, the silence that followed. How the galaxy, just for a second, reconsidered everything it thought it knew about Earth. Sometimes, she wondered if it was worth it, being a shadow instead of a soldier. But then she remembered the children in orbiting colonies, the diplomats on trade routes, the humans traveling without escort for the first time in centuries. Fear, Ivy had learned, could be an armor. And sometimes, it only had to be worn once. A red light blinked on her wall. Another match. Another challenger? No. A message. Observer 71, diplomatic invitation from the Venri Council. Personal audience requested. She read it twice. So. The bluff had worked. And now they wanted to talk to the monster. She didn't smile. But she did stand. The council chamber emptied in hushed tones, words exchanged in clipped whispers, glances lingering too long on the girl who didn't flinch. Ivy Rael remained seated. She hadn't moved since the meeting began. Even now, as the last diplomat disappeared behind a shimmering panel, she waited. No rush. Let the silence settle again. She finally rose, slow and measured, as if gravity worked differently on her. A voice interrupted her path. You understand what you've done, don't you? It was Kel, standing alone in the corridor. Ivy stopped but didn't turn. I followed the rules. Kel stepped forward. You shattered more than bones. That warband was violent, yes. But controlled. Now it's unraveling. They based their control on fear, Ivy replied. Fear breaks under pressure. Kel studied her. And what do you want to replace it with? Obedience? No, Ivy said. Respect. Kel's eyes narrowed. From whom? From the galaxy. With that, she walked away, boots silent on polished flooring. The footage of the duel had already crossed 14 sectors. Some viewed it as performance. Others saw prophecy. The neutral colonies distributed stills of Ivy's motionless stance as a symbol, the still blade. On isolated research stations, her biomechanics were compared to gravity-borne predators. One conclusion became common. She wasn't fast. She was efficient. No wasted energy. No tells. No build-up. Just decision and execution. Even now, back aboard her assigned quarters in the Terran diplomatic cruiser Merrick, Ivy sat on the edge of her bunk, stone-faced as the reports streamed in. Commander Voss appeared on the internal holo feed. Sit rep? She didn't look away from the display. Craven blades are pulling back from 3 neutral borders. Their broadcast wing is quiet. No official challenge issued. Reaction? Fear masked as indignation. They're regrouping, not retaliating. Good. She finally met his gaze through the lens. There's more. He nodded for her to continue. Other systems are watching us differently. Some curious. Some nervous. A few recalibrating treaties. Voss nodded. Then it worked. But Ivy didn't smile. This isn't over. He studied her. You think another challenge is coming? No. Something worse. She pointed to a spike in comms chatter on the screen. They're building myth. At the far edge of Sector 7, on a long-range smuggler's relay, a group of mercenaries played back Ivy's duel on a dirty projector wall. Every few seconds, the holo would jitter, freeze, then restart, right before the moment of the kick. A Nikari gunrunner spoke with a grin. She didn't even blink. The Vorsk beside him tapped a claw on his table. She's not a soldier. She's a symbol now. The youngest among them, barely initiated, leaned forward. What does it mean? The Vorsk hissed quietly. It means, we don't touch Earth. Back aboard the Merrick, Ivy reviewed a dossier sent by Central Command. Another name. Another file. Another threat emerging in response. This one wasn't a warlord. It was a scientist. Dr. Haltran Vosik. Xenogeneticist. Obsessed with adaptive weaponry. Recent transmissions linked him to private experiments, biological, unsanctioned. No official ties to the Craven Blades, but heavy funding from sectors under their influence. One quote stood out in the brief. If Deathworlders truly are the peak of evolution, then it is not enough to fear them. We must become them. Ivy read it twice. Then closed the file. Hours later, she stood alone in the gravity chamber. Artificial weight pressed against her, Earth standard times 1.5. Enough to challenge most species. Not enough to bother her. She moved through forms. Slow arcs. Sudden stops. Precision drills from muscle memory. Not rage. Not ego. Just discipline. Every movement sharpened the message. Every held breath reaffirmed what mattered. She remembered the crack of bone beneath her heel. Not because it was satisfying, because it was necessary. In her mind, she replayed the moment Threx called her small. Fragile. Unarmed. He had all the armor in the world. But no armor stopped truth. The truth that fear built on noise collapses in silence. The truth that strength isn't volume, it's certainty. And the certainty she carried wasn't taught. It was earned. On a planet that tries to kill you from birth. Through storms that swallow ships. Predators that wait beneath sand. A sky that burns you by noon and freezes you by night. Earth didn't raise warriors. It forged survivors. And survivors don't bluff. They end things. Later, a message pinged on her secure channel. From High Command. Subject, Field Status Update. Observer 71. Council Sectors Recalibrated Risk Profile. Threat Level Downgraded. Human Diplomatic Channels now considered Tier 1 deterrence. Field Deployment Status, Maintained. Continue observation. Act only if provoked. You are not to engage unless hostile action is confirmed. Earth does not escalate. Earth ends conflicts. She stared at the message for a moment. Then deleted it. Not from defiance, but because she didn't need the reminder. The arena had said everything for her. One kick. One truth. The galaxy understood now. Ivy stood alone in the Marex observation deck, staring out into the nebulae. Light from a dying star painted the void in hues of copper and cobalt. It looked peaceful, even gentle, until you understood what stars really were. Compressed violence. Slow annihilation wearing a soft glow. Not unlike her. The silence was broken by the soft chime of an incoming call. Encrypted, priority marked. She accepted it without turning from the viewport. The familiar face of Director Ava Lynn appeared on the holographic feed, her voice clipped and precise as ever. Protocol Deterrent is now live. Ivy didn't respond. Lynn continued. Multiple outer factions are moving. Not militarily, yet. But the tone has shifted. Recruitment videos featuring you are circulating on black market networks. You're a rallying point. Intentional or not. That was never the mission, Ivy said. No. But you were always the test. Ivy turned slowly. And the result? Lynn didn't blink. You've redefined what a human means to them. That alone has strategic value. Ivy stepped closer to the feed. I don't want to be a legend. I want them to stop pushing. Lynn paused, then replied, they might. But others will start pulling. You're a target now, Ivy. The kind they don't challenge, they replicate. Aboard a deep space lab facility 2 systems away, Dr. Haltran Vosik leaned over a reinforced bioslab. His latest specimen, a craven blood hybrid with human-adapted muscle density, twitched beneath a sterile field of light. Behind thick glass, a dozen more incubated clones waited. She shattered a warlord with one movement, Vosik muttered. But it wasn't the strength. It was the stillness. He turned to his assistant. We don't need her rage. We need her restraint. That's what frightens them. But the craven genetics. Too loud. Too imprecise. Deathworlders don't bellow. They wait. We must teach stillness. His assistant hesitated. And if we fail? Vosik smiled, sharp and humorless. Then we make sure she's not the only one. Ivy received her next assignment in a sealed capsule, delivered via retinal verification. It wasn't a mission. Not yet. Just coordinates. A research facility on a fringe moon. Unregistered. Unaffiliated. And according to Earth intelligence, interested in cloning Deathworlder traits. She knew what that meant. Someone had misunderstood the lesson. Deterrence was never about copying power. It was about knowing when to withhold it. Commander Voss met her in the launch bay. He leaned against the side of the gunship, arms crossed. You're not obligated to go, he said. They're not waiting, Ivy replied. He nodded slowly. You won't be the only Deathworlder they try to recreate. She checked the restraints on her gear. Then I'll show them what happens when they try to fabricate consequences. Voss hesitated. Ivy, if they succeed in making copies, if they get it wrong, they won't be deterrents. They'll be weapons without conscience. She met his gaze. Then I'll end it before they fire. The moon was dark, its sky heavy with dust storms and red static. Ivy moved through the shadows like they were an extension of her breath. No footsteps. No sound. No unnecessary motion. Inside the research base, lights flickered from overclocked equipment. Data ran non-stop on open displays. Nervous technicians whispered in corridors. They weren't trained for infiltration. They weren't trained for her. She bypassed the main entrance and entered through an exhaust tunnel. 10 minutes later, she stood inside the core lab. What she saw stopped her cold. Not weapons. Children. Dozens of them. Cryogenic pods lining the walls. All in stasis. All grown from mixed DNA, Craven, Terran, others she couldn't identify. And in the center of the room stood Vasek. He didn't look surprised. "I hope they'd send you," he said. A perfect comparison for the final phase. Ivy's jaw tightened. "They're not yours. They're not anyone's. Not yet. You're playing God with instincts you don't understand." He stepped forward. "I'm honoring evolution. You think Earth made you strong? It didn't. It pressured you. The galaxy will face greater pressures still. You don't replicate strength by mimicking damage." He shrugged. "Then perhaps I replicate you by causing more of it." Ivy didn't move. "You wanted me angry. You're expecting a strike." Vasek smirked. "Isn't that your reputation now?" She stared at the nearest pod. A girl, maybe 11, curled in suspension, her fingers clenched into fists too early for their time. Then Ivy looked back at him. "No. That was your mistake." She stepped forward slowly. "You thought the kick was the power." Vasek's smirk faltered. "It wasn't," she said. "The power was the choice not to kick." Then she moved. Swift. Surgical. 2 steps. 1 disarm. She reached Vasek before his alert triggered. Her hand clamped around his wrist. A twist, not to break, just enough to lock. "You don't get to build your legacy from borrowed pain." He dropped to his knees, stunned not by the pain, but by the mercy. She stared down at him, eyes cold. "I'm not your warning shot. I'm the silence before the fall." She disabled the cryo feeds gently. Each pod transitioned into medical evac. A coded message transmitted directly to Earth. When she left the lab, she didn't look back. The galaxy would remember the arena. But it would never see what happened on the moon. That was by design. Not all deterrents are loud. Some walk in. Quiet. And leave nothing behind but understanding.